Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. Welcome to another episode of Healers Talk Healing, the show where we explore the inspiring journeys of healing, transformation, and empowerment. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and today we have an incredibly special episode lined up for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by AnneLisa, a remarkable individual whose work as a full-spectrum doula has touched and transformed many lives. In our conversation, we uncover the profound meaning of healing, the continuous journey it entails, and how AnneLisa defines it as transformation of habits and ways of being that serve not only ourselves, but future generations. AnneLisa shares her inspiring journey to becoming a doula, including the spiritual calling and the serendipitous moments that led her to this path. From supporting families through preconception to postpartum, AnneLisa's story is a testament to the power of following one's intuition and the immense impact of compassionate support during childbirth. Whether you're on a healing journey yourself, considering starting a family, or simply curious about the role of doulas, this episode offers valuable insights and heartfelt stories. AnneLisa's wisdom and experience highlight the importance of community, legacy, and the continuous process of healing. So sit back, relax, and join us for an enlightening and uplifting conversation. Let's get started. I am very excited to speak to you today, AnneLisa. It is an honor to speak to someone who does what you do. You know, as a doula, we have so much to talk about. But before we get into that world, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask all of our guests, which is, what is your definition of healing?
So I define healing as the transformation of those habits, ways of being, learnings that no longer serve us and transforming it into what will serve not only us individually, but serve us as a generation, like serving the generations beyond us.
Mm, mm. Yeah, leaving that legacy, planting a seed, taking it forward it's powerful. And sometimes it can feel like it's a thing, like, oh, it's a thing to have to create that for the people that come after us, those who are going to come after us. But what a great gift to be able to start the legacy.
Absolutely. We plant inside of that healing process, we uproot the things that no longer serve our legacy, and we plant the seeds of trees that we won't be able to experience the shade of.
Ooh, that is some poetry in motion. It's so true, though. Like, there is something to be said about, we won't be experiencing it. You know, we as humans are so in this space in the world looking to that instant gratification. But, you know, when you're sowing, it takes something to be able to say, oh, not necessarily, but I may not see the result. I may not see the harvest the way in which I would like to, because of, you know, the time it takes, especially when it comes in the space that we are in that healing space, in the transformational space. We would like it to happen very quickly. When I work with my clients, I'm a Reiki master life coach, and when I work with clients are always wanting, okay, well, when am I going to get better? When's it going to feel better? When's this shift going to happen? They're like, one session is done, right? No.
Listen, the healing is never over. The
No,
healing is never over. It's only deeper layers. And it's
girl.
layers that you're like, where did this come from? What? This is what I said yes to? And this is how it gets
Oh,
fulfilled.
that thing that we say yes to when we don't know what we're saying yes to,
Yep. I
and we
say,
think it's got to be better than where I am now.
mhm,
And yes, it can be. And yes, sometimes it is. And then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Why doesn't this feel better than the last time I went through whatever it was I went through? And I saw someone create it very, very distinctly. It's like, we think healing is going to be like this, or it's going to be like this. And realistically, it's like up, then we're up, then we're up. And then we kind of, like you said, we're always in this space of healing, because we're opening up more, and we're opening up more, and we're opening up more. And we begin to see things in a different way. And the conversation that I've had with many others is, as we all have all gone on this journey, is you just have tools that maybe you didn't have before that help.
mm,
I'm not saying it's going to speed up the process, because the process is the process. It is what it is.
it is.
uh and at least for me, I think I recognize it faster. I
Mm.
may not understand it. I mean, like, I don't know if that's something that you experience as well. It's like, oh, I see I'm in a space. I just don't know what the space is.
I find like the feeling is like, oh, this feels familiar and foreign, right? It feels familiar because you're like, oh, I've reached this point before, but the view, the vista, it's just a totally different. You're like, okay, but this playing field is not the same where we were before. And so it's foreign and new it's foreign and familiar all at the same time. It's the feeling tone that's familiar, and it's the playing field that you're like, nope, I ain't been here before. Why does it feel so familiar? I don't know about this.
Yeah. Yes, you're speaking what's in my head so eloquently. I was just having this conversation with my girlfriends, and I was saying, I'm in this space right now. Feels but this is different. It's not the same. And
Hmm.
what tools can I pull out so that I can get some clarity to know what tools to go out and get to begin to help elevate. I guess the word is elevate me to that next transition.
Hmm.
And you have to be willing to want to.
Yes. You have to be like, you it occurs to me as though you have to be committed
Mm,
to being curious to discover, although you may know some things, you still don't know a lot of things. And so what are the things that you don't know that you're like, all right, we're just going to ask a question and discover what's on the other side of
mm. Yeah, when they say life is a journey, they're not joking. They that are not
Right.
joking
Not at
are,
all.
it's true. Life is a journey. It's a discovery, and it's the willingness, I think, to to feel the feels, because that's what we all try to avoid, is feeling the
Yep.
feels.
Mm-hmm.
Is the, oh, I don't like the way this is. So our whole survival mode comes in, and then survival
Mm-hmm.
mode is meant to keep you safe and comfortable. And comfortable is not fun most of the time. When you get into that space, I mean, what's it like for you? What's your journey been so far?
It has been thrilling, and also like, what, this again? And or, okay, this is what I say yes to. I don't know about this. I think we need to renegotiate this agreement because I don't know about this. And just sitting in that space with those feelings and really sitting in, okay, what are the possibilities on the other side of this?
Mm,
Like, this moment is uncomfortable. There's no sense of comfort ever, like, at all in this moment. And I make it through this moment, like, what are the possibilities that are available to me on the other side of this? What are the possibilities that are available to to the communities that I contribute to the family that
mm,
I'm a part of? Like, what are the possibilities that I open up? Because when I open up possibilities for myself, I open up possibilities for generations beyond me. So my willing to stand, like, for me, years ago, I started legacy really became it was when my grandparents passed.
mm.
Both of my grandparents passed. Legacy really like bubbled up in me. And I was like, huh, I was like, what does it look like for me to stand 7 generations beyond me and look back? Who
Wow.
was I and what did I do?
Mm,
Now, at first, it was hard because I was like, oh, 7 generations? And over the years, it's been like I stand in both spaces, standing here where I am and standing there. Like, okay, and looking back.
mm. That's very, very powerful to ask that question
Mhm.
and to be able to actually stand and say, okay, fast forward 7 generations, what's the impact been? And I think it's a perfect way to ask you about what you do because you help bring generations into the world. You
Mhm.
are a doula, and I am very familiar with what a doula is. I don't have one, but I know of them, and that some of my friends and contemporaries have used doulas, and I think it's such beautiful work. So I'm going to let you explain what a doula is and your journey into becoming a doula. I think that's so important to understand what had you take that path.
Yes. So I'm a full spectrum doula. And a doula is a birth companion, a birth guide, a birth worker. They support. So just to make a distinction, there are midwives and there are doulas, and they
Okay.
do work hand in hand, especially in the out of hospital space.
Mm,
So for home births, for water births, birth center births, they do work hand in hand. Midwives, specifically here in the United States, and what I'm finding is in a lot of countries, midwives can actually deliver your baby. Like, midwives can catch the baby and put it on mom,
mm,
where doulas are your coaches. They're going to coach you through, they're going to do hands-on body work. They may even do energy work while you're laboring. They're going to coach you through all of those spaces. From Now you can work with doulas from different throughout different spaces, because you can work preconception with a doula, you can work at conception with a doula, which then is focused on your pregnancy journey, labor and delivery, and then postpartum. And so I work with expecting families.
mm.
And for me, that looks like it includes adoption, it includes surrogacy. It also, like, it is a doula for me as a doula is focused on integrating and welcoming the little ones into your family. And
Mm.
so, and setting your family up so that you have a foundation of knowledge and empowering education to really make the choices that are aligned for your family.
I'm taking a deep breath because I'm imagining if I had had a doula for both of my
Mm.
journeys uh into motherhood, what difference it would have made for, I'm thinking, honestly, my second child, because I was so busy with the first one that
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like the second child was like, yeah, it's coming, but I'm busy over here. I'm over here.
Uh-huh.
So, my unfortunately, my son didn't get the reading every night in utero. He didn't get all of the things that I had set up for my first child because she's first child. And, you have, I felt not having
Mm-hmm.
any other children, I had more time to spend. when I had the second one, they were a couple of years apart, and I was running a business and managing other things that I just happened to have a baby and growing inside my belly.
Right.
And what a
Absolutely.
difference that would have made to just spend the time in being in that situation. And what brought you to want to partner with families, bringing those next generations into the world, however that is.
So, funny story. I have not personally given birth to any children yet in this lifetime.
Mm.
And a dear sister friend of mine had she was pregnant. She got pregnant in 2020. And it was like June or July. And I remember like she called me and it was just like a sister friend call, call to catch up. Hey, how are you? How are things going? And I remember being in um I was in another sister friend. I was house sitting for a sister friend who had gone to spend time with her family in England. And so I was house sitting for her in San Francisco, her condo in downtown San Francisco. And while she was away, I thought it was funny because I looked, I was like, wait, because I saw a lot of doula books. And I
Mm.
was like, oh, interesting. I didn't know she was a doula. And she's like, yeah. She's like, I've delivered. At the time, she had delivered like 3 babies. We had a brief conversation before she left, whatnot. So, second sister friend, we're on the phone catching up. Hey, how are you? How are things? And the conversation takes a shift. And as an intuitive, I was like, wait, what's happening? And I remember her like, I don't really remember all of the conversation before we got to this point, but it got to a point and I was like, wait, I was like, okay, hold on a minute. Give me just one moment. I was like, let me check in. And I checked in just kind of internally. I was like, Spirit, am I her doula? And I
Mm.
got a yes. And I was like, now, please note, I have not researched it. I was serving youth at the time, working as a CASA, serving uh, teens and youth in the foster care system. And I have, and I was an energy healer and a coach. And I was like, okay. But didn't, and I was like, so I tell my friend, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask you a question and I just want you to tell me the first answer that pops into your mind. And I asked her, I said, am I your doula? She said, yes. There was no hesitation. No, like it was immediate. And I was like, Mom, what am I going to do? I was like, and immediately she goes from yes to, oh my gosh, I know I'm asking a lot. Like, I know that I will hire somebody else who can do all the baby things, but I need you there for me. And I was just like, okay, hold on, pause. Let me process. Let me process. And as I sat there, all like my mind is going crazy because it's like, how are you going to do this? You don't know anything about like all of these thoughts. It was flooding. And I was like, okay, let me check in one more time. I was like, I was like, is it in the highest and best interest of all of us for me to say yes?
Mm.
And I got a yes. And I was like, okay. And so I told my friend, I was like, yes, I will be part of your doula team. I will be your doula for this birth. In the moment that I said yes, all of the thoughts and questions that were flooded literally disappeared. There was so much peace that I was like, hold up, what just happened? What just happened? And so we had that conversation in 2020. She gave birth to her baby girl. It was her first birth center birth. It was her first water birth. Although she had 5 other children, this was her 6th child, and this was her first out of hospital experience. And so February 20th, 2021, she gave birth. And I was like, okay, great. And I was like, okay, that's a friend, whatever. A year later, I am chatting with another sister friend. I was like, I'm loving how all my sister friends seem to deliver these messages to me. But I'm chatting with another sister friend, and she's sharing with me a reading that she had gotten from a psychic medium. And she was like, yeah, the medium said that she sees like one or two more children for me. Now, please note, this sister friend already has two children. And I was like, oh, I get to be a new auntie. She was like, girl, what are you talking about? You already an auntie. Like, I already got to. I was like, I know, but I get to be a renewed auntie. And her response was, she was like, girl, I don't know what you over there, like, I don't know what you doing over there. She was like, because if there are any more children coming through this body, she was like, you're definitely gonna be the doula. I'm sorry, what? Huh? And our conversation, so we go from giggling, laughing, joking to it's like shifts on a dime, because the question I asked her was, I was like, I don't know what I'd bring to that space. Like, why? She, like, full on tears, she is bawling as she channels this message for me. She's like, AnneLisa, the babies need you. They need the safe and grounding space that you provide. Like, the babies need you. And I was just like, and she's bawling, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, I got it. And when she integrated back into her body, she's like, I don't really know why I was crying. Like, it wasn't sad. Like, I don't
And she's not
know
even
why.
pregnant yet, right?
Mm-mm,
No baby in utero
nope,
quite yet.
nope,
Okay.
nope. And I was like, okay. That day, I sent, because I had been following a master doula and a midwife student for some time, that I loved her style.
Mm,
Loved her style, loved how she shared, loved how she integrated she integrated both African traditions and indigenous traditions, South American, Mexican, like all of these, just very a breath of traditions that she integrates into her practice as
mm,
a doula. And so I sent her a message, I sent her an email, and I was like, hey, I know that you've been doing, doula trainings. When is your next one? Please note that this is a Saturday that I sent her. Saturday, I had the conversation with my sister friend who channeled the
mhm.
beautiful message. Saturday, I sent this email to the doula teacher that I was like, yes, I want to be trained by you. She sent me a message back that said, oh, yeah, our next doula training starts on Tuesday. By Monday, I was registered, and Tuesday, I was in my first doula training class. And what was interesting for me about this journey was, once I said yes to being a doula, I had this dream. And in this dream, so the in the South, the huge plantation houses with the wraparound porch,
Mhm.
and they typically have, when you come out the front door, it's usually either a large front door or a double front door. You walk down like 2 steps to get down to the ground or wherever the sidewalk is. So I'm in this dream, I'm sitting on the steps of the front porch, and all of a sudden, all these babies, like, all toddlers, because they're walking, they all come, and they're all like running up to me, super excited, and they have their arms outstretched, and they come up and they give me a hug, and there's so many of them, I can't wrap that my arms around them all. And so they're literally leaning into each other, hugging me.
Mm.
And I was like, it was so endearing and warming. And I was like, okay, spirit, I got it. I will take this journey.
Mm.
So I have been a doula ever since. And it has been, like, I love it. I absolutely love it. It is such an honor to to be welcomed in such an intimate space with families, and to serve as a guide as they navigate their birth journey.
Mm. I, I think the interesting part of your story,
Hmm.
when what I hear in it, is this was not on your radar. Like,
It
any there was no, was there ever a thought like, I'd like to help women through their pregnancies?
it w- it wasn't so. funny enough. So last Thanksgiving, I connected with another sister friend, and it's been years since she and I actually had a really good like catch up conversation.
Mm.
And she's like, "AnneLisa, what are you doing now?" And I was like, "Well, I'm now a full spectrum doula working full time in my holistic wellness business." And she was like, "Oh, you took the path." I was like, "Wait, what?" She was like, "AnneLisa, I remember in February of 2020, because I participate in South American indigenous plant medicine ceremonies.
Okay.
And so what I had been sharing with them is I was like, yo, all my journeys I've been getting pregnant, like energetically
Mm.
pregnant." And I remember the one journey specifically where I could literally feel like it was like my womb was contracting, and I was like, what is this? What is happening?"
Mm.
And so I remember sharing that with her, and I was like, "A doula? I don't I don't know." And so as my sister friends were just inquiring and asking questions, it was like she's like, "AnneLisa, we asked you, like, are you going to take the path? Are you going to explore it?" And all of your answers were, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." And she was like, "So you took the path." And I was like, wow. So the seed likely for being a doula got planted 7 years ago.
Mm.
And I took the path. I said yes to the path. Well, I said yes to being a doula and then said yes to the path of being a doula maybe 4 years ago.
Join the Miracles Directory where healers connect and wellness begins. Join a community of trusted holistic professionals or find your path to healing and peace. Visit themiraclesdirectory.com. Start your journey today. And I think it's important that we get to hear this part of your story for those who are on a path or something is growing inside of them or signs are coming from everywhere, to be open to saying yes to discovery. And,
Mm-hmm.
I find that we're always looking for, like, what's the meaning? Why am I here? What is, like, what the hell am I doing here? Aside from feeling like I'm in angst 90% of the time, it's like, what is all of this for?
Mm-hmm.
To our listeners who are people who want to be healers, people who are looking to work with a healer, things work in their own time. I've learned this now in my fifth decade of life, that things take their time.
Yeah.
We can't force the universe to bend to our will. It's
Mm.
because there's already something there. We come here with a mission. And then, well, we know what it is before we get here. And then we get here and we forget what it is. And we've got to unravel so that
Mm-hmm.
we can be our best selves in discovering becoming a doula, becoming, for me, a Reiki master, someone in the healing path. If you had asked me 7 years ago if I would be an energy healer, I would have been like, yeah, whack. No, I don't believe any of that stuff.
Yes. It's funny how things shift.
Mm.
Like almost coming full circle. And so even as I work with my clients, there's sometimes I'm inspired to ask my mom questions.
Mm.
And something I something I was inspired to ask her was, "Mom, who was there? Like who was there when I was born?" She was like, "I don't know where your father was. He was off doing whatever he was up to. He said he needed to go A, B, C through Z, so I don't know." She was like, but Terry was there." And so Terry is a dear friend of the family who
Mm.
has just lovingly, I call her auntie.
Mm.
Um, and I know Aunt Terry knew my parents like before I was even a thought. What I did not know is that she was my mom's labor coach when my
Mm.
mom was giving birth to me. And I was like, wow. like Aunt Terry holds a very dear space in my heart just because of who she is and
Hmm.
ooh, how she supported me along my journey. And
Yeah.
so to hear that she was the one who was standing and advocating for my mom and coaching my mom through the transformation that is birth,
Hmm.
I was like, wow, okay, I got that.
Mm.
It was really endearing.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah. So my question is, now you found the path. You're
Hmm.
on the path.
Hmm.
What is it like for your clients to have you who are on your path walk
Mm.
along with them as they're on their path?
It is It's so funny. So for New Year's, I send all of my clients a Happy New Year's virtual e-card. And one of them responded and he was like, "Thank you so much for being a part of our best year yet."
Mm.
They gave birth. Now, what's hilarious, like, I love all of my clients, and this particular couple was hilarious. They also hold a special place because they gave birth to their son on my birthday.
Yeah, I feel that.
And what was us auspicious, coincidental but not coincidental, is that I arrived, I don't even know if they know, but I arrived at their home to support them in laboring at home at my birth time. And I was like, message received, spirit. I got it. Like, message received. Um and so it was beautiful. And to hear, he was like, "Thank you so much." It was dad who responded. He was like, "Thank you
Mm.
so much for being a part of our best year yet." It is I find that my clients feel like, "Oh, okay, I don't have to carry all this weight by myself." Cuz there's in as you're preparing for birth, as I'm sure you know, there's a wealth of possibilities,
Hmm.
information, shoulds, should nots, do not, scary stories, great stories, like, and you're like, what am I what am I doing here? What story am I going to have out of this? And so really being able to guide them in a loving way and empower them regardless like what comes up. And so one of the things that I do with my clients is we talk about like worst fears. Like, okay, what is your worst fear? And what plan can we create such that you are empowered through
Mm.
it? And so it's like if plan A does not work out, because babies have their own time and way
Yeah.
that they want to move. So if plan A does not work out, so we have an if this plan B, if this plan C, if this plan. So so we have, and I was like, and I'm not going to force you inside of your labor or delivery to be like, you said you wanted. I'm just not. Like, nope, that's not how this goes.
No, you
This is
don't do that with the ladies who is pushing a baby out.
I was like, what I will say is, hey, when we talked about this before, you said you wanted this. These are the options right now. What, do you still want this or do you want something else? Whatever you choose, I totally honor.
Mm. It truly is a coach,
Mm-hmm.
someone who's in your corner advocating for what you need and reminding you of what you said you needed and wanted.
Right.
And sometimes you're right, things happen. Okay, I remember, this is TMI, but I remember saying, I want a mirror. I want to see the birth. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had the mirror, like, I don't want to see the mirror.
Right.
See that. And then in that moment, people saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh my gosh, please don't ask me if I'm sure, because one of my fists are going to hit your face."
Right. And it's also honoring because so birth it's both a sexual event and
Mm.
it's a transformational event.
Mm.
And so there is an you are purely a channel in bringing and birthing that baby into this world.
Mm.
And as you birth, I find like especially a lot of um what I've noticed is moms who are planning, or people who are planning to get pregnant
Mm.
or planning for pregnancy, planning for children, and especially if it's their first, they're really scared. And I'm
Yes.
like, that's totally viable. That's totally valid. Because as you give birth to this child, you also rebirth yourself.
Mm.
So every version of you that you thought you knew dies away. So there's this rebirth process that you are going through in addition to carrying this life and bringing it into this world.
Mm.
And so it's totally valid. And I'm simply here to support you as you reemerge.
Mm. That is, I've never heard it put that way. And and I can say, yes, that's valid. And it's true, because at that moment, you've never been a mother before. Even when you have 6, 7, 8, you've never been a mother of 8 children. You've never been, you've never been in this place. And it's funny because I have this conversation with my children when we're in angst. I'm like, I've never been a mother of adult children living in my house. So this is a new version of mom. I'm trying to figure it out. Well, I think we need, we as women and men too,
Mhm.
but I'm speaking from a female experience.
Okay.
I feel like it's like you need a doula for your whole life,
Mm. Mhm.
because the children, they change, you change,
Mhm.
everybody's going through this change, and it's nice to have that someone there for you, whatever change you're going through, what being a parent, whether it's from the birth process to letting them go and have their own lives. It
Mhm.
is the first time for everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, like, households that have multiple children, I was like, you're all as old as the youngest child in the house.
For
Because
real.
literally, when you give birth to that second, third, fourth, eighth child, you're all learning to roll over. You're all learning to crawl. You're all learning to stand. You're all learning to walk, to run. Like all of those milestones, you're going through yourself.
Mm.
It may be expressed different because you're at a new level. It's just, it's this rebirth process. And that happens throughout the child's life. So, totally like, right. Never been a mom of a, like, listen, y'all are a new age. I've never been a mom of two children this age. This is, we got to reassess.
And I think we have to give ourselves space for that. A lot of us don't allow ourselves the space for that, even during pregnancy. You think, oh, my mom's pregnancy was like this, and her mom's pregnancy was like this, and my best friend's pregnancy was like this, or she got pregnant like this. And why am I struggling? Or why is it so easy and my friend is struggling? Like we have all of these things going on in our heads. And many of us, especially depending culturally where you come from, you are supposed to be the most elated and the most beautiful and the most, I don't know, like fairy, like I just can't, you know what I mean, floating across the world, because you are going to give birth and do what some would say is one of the most important tasks on in the planet. But sometimes you don't feel like that, and you don't have anyone to talk to, because you have to be in the space of, oh, but you're going to be a mom.
And it is, I can totally relate. I was having a conversation with a client, and what she said was, I'm trying to be really happy and joyful and grateful for this baby. And I was like, okay, got that. And Mama, I invite you to give yourself space and grace. You don't have to be anything other than who you are and where you are. And right where you are, it is perfect. So if there's sadness, if there's grief, if there's fear, if there's frustration, like give yourself space to feel and be with it. It will pass, and give yourself the space and the grace to be with it. Nothing is wrong with any of those emotions, they're natural.
Mm.
And she was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't been able to, like, it was like I gave her permission to actually have the conversation with me, because she had shared, like, I'm not able to have this conversation really with anybody else, including my partner, because nobody seems to understand. I was like, well, it's not really for anybody to understand. And like, with me, you will always have the space to be with what is exactly there,
Mm.
whatever that is.
What a gift that is to a family.
Mm.
And from the perspective of hearing how you support, and just in this instance is with the example that you gave, you can't even share with your partner. And then sometimes we show up in some kind of ways because we're dealing with something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're thinking, is this like, is this your pregnancy? What is happening? I don't understand. What happened to my wife? Where did she go? Or my partner, where I don't know. Because we feel the person who is pregnant feels like, well, I should be happy, or this something should be happening. And to have someone in their corner who doesn't have their own agenda, I think that's important for us to get as
Mm-hmm.
as in with any coach or with any support system out there, to call upon someone who doesn't have an agenda and just wants only what's workable in your life and what's good for you and the client's life. I don't think many of us know what a great and beautiful role a doula can play in that craziness time that happens. Because for some people, yeah, it's smooth and it's beautiful and it's lovely. And for some, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, to have someone celebrate with you, like, you might have a partner who's so scared themselves, they don't even know how to celebrate with you because you're so excited, or the
Yeah.
reverse. And to have that. And I think what the remiss thing is, I'm going to say, is that in our Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
we're very individualized. You do things on your own. You need to be strong. You need to be powerful. Culturally, as both you and I are women of color, we need to be strong. We like, you've got to put on game face all the time. Vulnerability is something you leave, I don't know, on the toilet when you're sitting down and crying by yourself where no one can see you. To have someone in your um, corner is so important, especially at this time of your life. What really is remiss is that it's not readily available. It's
Yeah.
not part of the conversation you have with your doctor when you go and you go to the doctor, they say, yes, you're pregnant. And then it's like, oh, we have this. For me, it was um my family doctor, thank God, for my first child was an OB/GYN as well. So like that was, I'm saying from experience, it was nice to have someone that was there the whole time. But with my
Mm-hmm.
second child, I had a doctor who I saw a couple of times, the OB/GYN, and then in the hospital, somebody else delivered my baby. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't even remember what he looks like. I don't even remember his name.
Yeah.
For me, like such an important, there's a big
Mm-hmm.
distinction between two. And there was never a conversation of, do you want to work with a midwife? Would you like to have like, how would you like your pregnancy experience to be like? They're talking about your, at the end of the 9 months or 10 months that we're
Mm-hmm.
pregnant for, but no one is talking about, well, what would you like your pregnancy to be like?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all effery sometimes, you know what I mean? It
Absolutely.
it's all
Absolutely.
over the road. So
And
what do you suggest that we can do to create more awareness around the importance and the support of a doula? Because I think we do know very clearly, we're very clear mostly on what midwives are, and I'm glad you made the distinction earlier on. So, as your parting thoughts before we end our conversation is, how can we help our sisters feel supported on their journey of pregnancy?
mm, listen more than we speak.
Mm.
because it's very often that they're telling us exactly what they need. And in our mind, we're like, no, you don't. Da, 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 da. Like it's where we're operating from our own perception and we're not listening. And so listen and ask open-ended questions. How would you like me to support you? What does help look like for you? Because what I've noticed with my clients, especially when I'm setting them up postpartum for their family to support them, is all help is not the help you need or want.
Yes, indeed.
And so really being curious, like what would make a difference for you in especially postpartum, because postpartum is a journey that it's very distinct child to child. Is no two postpartum journeys are the same. And help looks different. Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's, can you just come over and wash the dishes? Like I just can't. And as you know, with babies, baby bottles and all the things, there's a rotation of dishes that is very regular and consistent.
And laundry.
That too, that too. And so sometimes it's just as simple as, can you come over and clean my kitchen and do the laundry? Like that would make a huge difference. And so it's those little things that we don't necessarily think about. But if we were to ask the question, like, what would make a difference for you right now where you are in your journey? Is it
Mm.
just for me to come and sit and talk with you? So you have especially for stay-at-home moms, so you have another adult to talk to and you're not just, talking to the kids all day. And assessing for yourself, is that something that you can support in? Because
Mm.
that ability and capacity to show up for your cousin, your sister, your homegirl, whomever who's on their birth journey, it can totally make all the difference in how they experience motherhood.
Mm. So beautiful. So how do we connect with you? Aside from the Miracles Directory, how do we connect with you if we are looking for that support, or we know someone who's looking for that support, or even want to get to know more about doulas or becoming a doula? How do we connect with you?
So I'm on Instagram at Cosmic Mothering is
Mm.
my handle. Feel free to email at hello@cosmicmothering.com or simply give a call. 323-452-7174.
This has been such a beautiful conversation, and I'm so glad you do what you do. The mamas and the babies and the dads and the partners that get to experience your support are very, very lucky. Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.